Yo, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the SoulCast. We are continuing with our character analysis, one character per episode. We did Viola last time, with some interesting updates to that, which we might get to later. But for this episode, we're looking at another character that you're actually going to see quite a bit in tournaments. There's been a couple of big name players that have actually switched to this character. Because they believe he's so powerful. And that, of course, is Mitsu. So there's a big discussion going around because people keep flip-flopping characters, who's the best Mitsu and all this other stuff. And my guest for this time, actually, I think a lot of people fall in his bandwagon for best Mitsu, at least in America. So with that, allow me to introduce Mateo Galvin. What's going on, dude?
Yo.
So yeah, best Mitsu in the country. I actually fall in that club as well. I know RTD switched to Mitsu and all that good stuff, but I don't know. You've been rocking him from day one, right? I mean, I don't think you've played any other character.
I play tons of characters, but I've been playing him like straight up since Soul Calibur 2 when I first started playing seriously. So yeah, he's been my main forever.
Gotcha. So you're one of those players that a lot of people know about and a lot of people talk about, but I actually don't see a lot of interviews of it. You kind of stay in the shadows a little bit. I mean, I don't hear a lot of interviews. Photos every once in a while, creep up, but it's not like, say, RTD or Kiev, where like every other interview, you see those guys and their names and whatnot. So for those out there who, even if they've heard your name, maybe don't know where you come from, obviously, you're from Wisconsin. I think most people know that, but give us a little bit of a background on like your gaming career, where you started and all that good stuff.
Well, I kind of got into Soul Calibur 2 a bit late. I've always been more of a Tekken player, and Tekken Tag was dying out in Wisconsin. Everyone was playing Soul Calibur 2, so like I finally got around to switching. I really didn't like the game. I just wanted to play Tekken, but everyone gave up on Tekken, so I had to switch to it. And then I kind of fell in love with the game. I think especially at Soul Calibur 2, it was super fun, really really fast paced. So it was easy for me to get into.
Gotcha.
And otherwise, like I was always a mediocre Tekken 2 or a Tekken player back in the day, and I kind of got better. Like Tekken 5, Tekken 6, I started to do things, but like you said, I'm not that well known because I haven't really done that many good things. Like I've placed top 10 at Evo and Calibur and Tekken, but like it's not like I was traveling doing that on like a monthly basis like other people do. So,
well,
I think that I might not be known so much.
Well, I can say for sure that you're known at least for the Caliber 5 scene, because I mean, this last Evo and even before then with UFGT, there was you came second only to Lost Providence, and based on who you talk to, so he was playing Viola, of course. So, some people, you kind of take that with a grain of salt. But
Yeah,
I think I mean, from what I was seeing on the boards and everything, I mean, a lot of people were saying that you were the best Mitsu that they saw at Evo. And then it's hard to call somebody like RTD a Mitsu player. I kind of like to think of him as more of a top player who just happens to be playing Mitsu, just because he's strong and that's why he switched to Mitsu. But
he played Mitsu in 4 as well. He was a secondary. He'd use Mitsu at first. He was using Mitsu, Elgol, I believe, and he was using an Apprentice, obviously, because he's cheap as fuck. But yeah, he does tend to switch to top tiers.
Which I don't have a problem with. I mean, if that's
no, of course not. It's whatever. He plays to win. I understand.
Exactly. That. So, did you play anything? But you just mentioned Soul Calibur 4. Did you play 4 and 3 at all, or did you just skip straight to 5?
3, I played for like a month, and I just couldn't deal with it. Like even though I played Cassandra and Mitsu, and like they're super strong, and Mitsu obviously because it was VC cancel out of 2-2 and 8-8B into like full crouch 1B counter hit combo for like half life. Was sick, but I still thought the game was a joke, and I just stopped playing it right away, and I just concentrated on Tekken.
Gotcha. Well, I guess that's really all I got for like the history. So we might as well just jump right into the Mitsu discussion. So most people, at least from I'll be completely honest. I only know the basics with Mitsu. 2KB, BB, and what A plus B, and then you have the 3B stuff, and pokes and the little sword stabs and all that. But from what I gather, he's the king of 50-50s. You know, like that's his game. He moves really quick. He's really good at controlling frames, and he just keeps putting you in these really shitty 50-50s. So I guess let's talk about that for a second, because and you know, you can correct me if you feel I'm wrong here, but whenever I watch you play, whether it's Caliber or Tekken or whatever, one of the things that makes you good, from my analysis, is the fact that you're extremely decisive. Like there's no waffling at all. Like you make a decision, you go for it. You're not like planning out option B, C, or D. You know, you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm committed to it, and go for it. And with a character like Mitsu, and especially in a game like Caliber, it seems like that's just like a perfect combination. So do you agree with that? Do you think that's where his strength lies? Like just putting the pressure on and keeping you in these really crappy 50-50s?
He is very good at that, but the thing is, people they should understand that all his mix-ups are unsafe. That's why, like, I'm actually not that big of a mix-up, like, player with him. Like, I play the space game a lot, actually. But his close range game, it is very good. If you guess wrong, it's tough to get. You don't even want to get up. You just want to stay on the ground. So that's a good thing for Mitsu, because he'll just poke you on the ground. And then once people get annoyed with that, they stand up in the mix-ups. But if they guess right once, they're going to get a launcher, and if they have meter, they might take 40%. So that's another thing. His risk reward is, I think it's very fair. I think it's very balanced. He's not like Viola, where he can throw out a launcher that can only get AA punished and get 60%. He doesn't have that option, but he will keep you guessing. So that is a strong point for him.
So is that where you think he like? Because, a lot of people think that he's a top-tier character, but it sounds like, based on what you just said, his risk-reward is very fair. So what is it about him that makes him so scary? Just the fact that you're constantly guessing? Or
he has all the tools. He has everything. Like, he has everything he needs. Like, he's not lacking in any area. He's got good ground hits. He stops sidestep, and he does plenty of damage. He has some of the best brave edges in the game. His C is obviously good. It picks up off the ground. And, like, I don't know, he's really good at mind fucking people, because they get so scared, like, they just don't know what to do, it seems, sometimes. Even the top players don't know how to play against Mitsu. Like, they just don't know what to do half the time.
Well, what do you think is responsible for that? Because I mean, Mitsu is a pretty common character, so it's not like, you'd think that ignorance would play a factor in there. Why do you think everyone struggles with him? Like, because you said that they, it doesn't seem like they know how to play against him. What would cause that? Just people not paying attention, or?
I don't know. It seems versus Mitsu, people have, like, the idea that you have to, like, be willing to duck versus him. Like, they're so worried about 2KB Brave Edge that, like, they always like to duck. And that's what I really like. That's what I love about people. Like, you can just do mids all day and they're still going to duck. Besides, like, a handful of the highest level players that are smart and understand risk reward and why you shouldn't duck versus him. So. But I really do think it is just basically that his 2KB is so fast you can't read it, so it just gets in the back of their head that they're like, I have to twitch duck, I have to randomly duck, and like that will fuck you up. And if you do that twice in a round, you can get launched twice or whatever, and that just changes the entire round, and that can be just a lost round. So.
One thing that I want to bring this up, because you just said, he mentioned how he has all the tools, to deal with whatever. I remember watching the Evo match between you and Eris, and Bibulus was on the stream, and he said something that I thought was pretty interesting. He said that he made a comment about Mitsu not caring about matchups. So based on what you just said, the fact that he has all these tools, do you think that's true? That he doesn't really need to worry about matchups? You just play? And you don't have to worry about what, this character's, or do you think that he actually has bad matchups out there?
I don't think he has terrible matchups, but certain characters have really good tools versus poking, and like his mid, like 3B and his just 2A basic pokes. Like, Pyrrha's very, very good versus, she has an auto GI. I don't know if you saw the MLG arena the other day, and RTD versus LP. LP counterpicked him with Pyrrha and just auto GI'd everything. Everything he did, he just auto GI'd it. That's all he did.
I actually did not catch that. I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, you should watch. Yeah, you should watch the replay. It's pretty ridiculous.
So auto GI just eats him up, huh?
Well, the one that covers horizontal, like she has it's B plus K, I believe, and that stops, I believe, it was stopping 3B. Like, I don't know the exact properties of her. I play her, but I'm a scrub, and I just stab people. Like, I don't really know what he does, but I just know, like, characters that can stop his offense, like with like a basic like auto GI, just like Jiba's, can really fuck his game up. Because he likes to apply pressure up close, and characters with that can stop it. That doesn't really make it a bad matchup. It just makes you have to think a little bit and play a little different. It's not like, I don't feel that any character can completely dominate him, but I feel that one of his tougher matchups is Pat. Pat is a pretty tough matchup for Mitsu.
Just because he's so basic?
He's just like Mitsu, except like he's less risky in a way. Like he has 1B, which is really, maybe it's just me, but it's super, super annoying. I think 1B is one of the best moves in the game. I don't know why it's safe. I don't know why it's 0 on block. But anyways, those kind of things give Mitsu problems. Like where if he's not left at an advantage, I'm kind of just stuck there. I'm not going to do anything. Like because people say like Mitsu, he's pretty fast and all, but like his regular pokes they're good, but they don't leave him at like plus frames. Like BB, he can get interrupted out of BB on counter hit by all the girls, which I think is a joke. So he has everything, but you have to pick the right things and use everything a little bit sparingly so you can't fall in the patterns, because obviously good players will pick that up. But as of matchups, he can hang with anyone in the game. If there's not a horrible matchup, I'm guessing I couldn't even say, but I'm guessing Viola would be his worst matchup. Possibly. Just
because everybody hates her. She thinks she's busted.
I don't see. LP was trying to say that Mitsu has the advantage in that matchup, but I don't think any character in the game has the advantage in that matchup.
You know, you are the that opinion is definitely the consensus, at least right now. There are some dissenting views, such as Lost Providence and a couple others, but a thread that has since been deleted, was on the front page about how France is voting to ban her.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's something there that makes people think that she's broken. So,
well, no other character gets free mix-ups back to back just because she has a ball out. Unless she forces you to waste meter on GI, it's just silly. So that's a different thing to talk about. But yeah,
completely different thing. So okay, so let's go back to this Mitsu discussion thing, because you were talking about how he has to use certain things sparingly and he doesn't get too many frames. Now, based on what I know, and again, I'm not a Mitsu expert or anything, but I always thought that it was. One of the things that made him strong was the fact that he is really good at controlling frames and that he gets really good frames off of a lot of stuff. Now, I'm trying to think if you just said something specific. I know you mentioned BB. I'm not sure if you mentioned anything else, but like what kinds of moves are you when you say that he doesn't get, crazy frames or really awesome frames off of stuff? Like what sorts of moves are you referring to? Because like the first one that pops into my mind that's just annoying as shit is the low sword poke. I fucking hate that move.
Yeah, that move is pretty solid. He actually is. I believe he's negative like 1 or 2 on that. I know he doesn't have advantage on that hit. Like if you're playing against, that's why like I like to mix it up. After that move, I'll throw out 4B, like just test if people want to attack after that. Because most people tend to attack after that because they realize that they have advantage a little bit. So they'll try to throw out an AA or a 2A. So I'll step back and then stab them. But that move is obviously very annoying, but you got to understand that it's not really an offense. Like you don't stay on offense. You're basically just taking that poke and you're back to like 50-50 basically. You're both even and just back to neutral.
It's interesting that you mentioned 4B, because that that's like one of the most complained about moves with Mitsu.
See, I can sort of understand it. All the top level players know, like they'll start to understand when you're going to use it, and like when most people would just like, oh, I'm like +4, I'm going to attack. Like they know like to sometimes just stand there and wait for it, and then just sidestep it. So it's like it is kind of weird fighting Mitsu, and like I've played a lot of mirror matches, obviously, where I played a lot at Evo, a lot of money matches, and like you just got to realize. You have an advantage, like a very small advantage, where you can't punish him. You can't just throw an attack because he can always just get away with that move. And if you don't use a move that tracks him down or like steps forward or is delayed, he's gonna beat you. It's gonna get away from you or it's gonna interrupt you. So you gotta fight him a little differently than you gotta fight other characters in that aspect.
I like how you're approaching this, because most people are like. Whenever they talk about their characters, they're always like apologizers. Like, You know, here's what you need to do to be good with the character. Whereas you seem to like take the opposite approach, where like, listen, no, this is good, but here's what you do to beat it. You know, it's like
everything's beatable. That's why people are so silly about when they complain. Like, there's always an option. There's a way around it, and there's multiple ways around it. So I don't see. That's why I try not to complain about Viola that much. Like, people want a banner, but I'm just like, whatever. I'll just chill. I'm gonna play the game and whatever. Try to get better. That's it.
So, okay. So let's kind of talk about some other aspects of his game. So we were talking about, you know, the low pokey stuff, and you know, you mentioned how his mix-ups, you know, yeah, if he guesses right, that's great, but you know, he's going to eat a launcher if he doesn't. So what about other stuff like, let's say punishing, and I bring punishing up specifically because at least you, in specifically, and you know, this obviously is going to vary from player to player, but you're very good at like twitch punishing, and like whiff punishing, just because you're so good at spacing it. And then also it comes from, you know, the whole Tekken mindset of, oh, that second hit's high, I'm going to duck and punish you now, you know, kind of the instant punishes. So when it comes to punishing, you know, I know his wall standing punish is really good. What is it? Wall standing B hold or whatever it is.
Full crouch 1B.
Full crouch 1B, is that what it is? But yeah. I just know that shit leads to massive damage if you hit it.
On counter.
Yeah, on counter. But like punishing seems to be a pretty big part of his game, because if you're really good at spacing, you're really good at controlling the frames, you know, you're going to get a lot of opportunities to punish. So what I guess there's a couple different ways to approach that. First of all, do you agree with that? Do you think punishing is going to be a big thing for him? Or and like how do you go about that? Because like I said, you're so good at like just recognizing when to duck or when to sidestep, or you know, just when to get the hell out of the way and let them whiff. So what is your approach when you go to punish?
It really depends on the situation. Like I'm usually trying, like now I'm trying to get to the point where if I duck a high, I punish with 236B because that's for max damage. But the easiest thing is obviously ducking and doing full crouch 1B. You get mix up after that. But I don't know, his punish game is good. He has a good mid-range punish for like long-range whiffs as well. But you got to be really quick with it, because if you're late with like B6 where he lunges forward, like you're not going to get the punish. And like it's kind of risky because if you're late, they can just duck it. So that's also another problem. So you got to be really, really wary of like just throwing out your punishers, because like that's like his only one for mid-range. But otherwise, like I mostly try to use 1B from like mid-range, from range 2, because it's just basically it hits grounded, it covers step to one way, so it's pretty quick. Yeah, it's super quick and it's super easy to use. So that's why like most people you see use that, but I'm usually going for the max damage usually, and I try to go for whatever I can. Just by it's kind of hard to say like how I'm like my thought process. Like it's just, I see the move, I recognize it, I'm like, I can do this, and that's basically it. I just go for the max of what I can get, so it's kind of hard to describe.
So do you think, like, for newer players, let's say trying to pick up Mitsu, do you think it's just one of those things where, okay, kid, you need to play a bunch of games and just figure out what works in what situation, or do you think there's something specific they can do to like help them along with that process?
See, the way I learn, because I learn by playing in matches. I don't go into practice mode. Like, I've been in practice mode, like, probably a total of an hour and a half in this game. Like, I can't do that. I have to play, otherwise I'm bored. I just won't put the time in. So I really think the best way, if you can do it, if you can learn it doing it in a match where it's actually, like, a real situation where you're being attacked and it's not practice mode, you learn better that way, or at least I do. And you're going to get used to applying it every time you see it. And I don't know. I really just think that's the best way, and just figure out what works for each situation, and it's going to become second nature, and you'll just do it every time.
Gotcha. You know, it's interesting that you say that, because most players, I think, fall in the middle when it comes to that, where they think they'll say, you know, yes, matches are absolutely, I mean, you can't get anything better than a match, but at the same time, you have to put a little bit of time into practice mode just to get certain things down. Mitsu, I think, is probably one of those unique cases where he doesn't really have the most difficult combos, you know, to pull off. But from you, so you think it's all match play. You're just gonna trial by fire sort of deal, huh?
Yeah, he's that basic. You don't really need much. Like I actually, like, he has things you can learn and work on in practice mode, like tech traps and stuff like that, but he doesn't exactly need that. Like, he's not a character you need to take into practice mode. He's just one you can just play and just figure out what works for you, what basic punisher you want to use, and just go from there. He's like, I use like 6 moves, so.
Gotcha. So to backtrack a little bit, because I did want to talk about this, the whole punishing thing, because most characters, when we were talking about Viola, when I was chatting with Lost Providence, he we got to the topic of like punish move or panic buttons and stuff, because Viola, she's kind of a slower character, so any way to get out of somebody rushing you down is probably good knowledge. But not like a game like Tekken where so many characters have like counter hit 4s and all this other stuff to kind of keep you out of their face. Caliber isn't really that big of a game. It works more, or isn't that kind of game. It works more on like evasive stuff. And Mitsu's one of the few characters that has like really evasive, like, I don't want to call it a stance, but he has like the sway back, and then his other stuff that kind of goes around. So when it comes to every once in a while, not all the time, but I do see you using the sway back, and like if you go even play a couple matches online and you run into a Mitsu, I mean, that's like the thing to do. Like, it's just to keep it, because I think, what is this, like 4A plus B, I think is or whatever it is, like whatever that fucking sway back is, like that's just the thing to do, and it has like super good pushback, and like like it's just ridiculous. So when it comes to that, I think not a lot of characters in Caliber have those sorts of options when somebody's like in your face. Do you think he has that advantage with that? Because like I said, I notice you using it sometimes. So
I try to use it. It depends. If the person I know is going to be really pressing buttons, like just like little toe pokes or 2As and like just AAs up close, I'll throw it out if I feel I'm in trouble and I feel I can get away with it. But if you're playing against high level people and they expect that kind of stuff, you can risk getting half life taken by them sidestepping you and doing whatever they want. But it is a very, very, very great tool. It is a big advantage because he can just it's almost like a get out of jail free card if you know the person's going to hit buttons. So it's kind of a big deal, and like you said, most characters do not have that, and a lot of characters, like if they're just using basic pokes, they're not going to stop that move. They're just stuck doing their AA or 2A.
And now that's a move that goes into his stance, right?
You can go into stance. You have to hold it though, and he won't do this. Then he won't do the hit. He'll just be stuck in stance, which I don't really use because if they see that, they can just hit you. You can't block, and you're stuck in stance.
Gotcha. So I did want to talk about his stance a little bit, because it's not something that you see like abused or anything like that. But I notice whenever you go into it, it's very rare when I watch your matches to see you do that. But when you do go into it, you almost always do the low high, the whatever that is, KB or whatnot.
Yep.
So is that like 100%? You're like, it's so rare for you to even go into it, you might as well go for the low.
Well, the thing is, I usually try to use it. Like, I won't finish my combo. Like, I'll do like his knockdown combo, like launch 236B Brave Edge, and I won't take the ground hit. I'll dash in stance. If they roll back, the 2K or the KB is guaranteed. You can't block it. So, and everyone just will roll back, and like you. So that's basically the most I use it. I'll use it like if people are just standing there a lot, and like most time I don't understand, like people don't realize that stance, it's not good. Like basically his only good mid poke out of it is B plus K, and if you get hit by the B plus K, he is stuck in stance still, and you can like his next best option is to do, most of his options are high, so it's kind of a really risky stance that I try not to use much. Like you said, I use it very sparingly. So,
well, and I was going to say the KB, I mean, that's pretty fast. I don't think you can see that on reaction, but all of the mid options he has, like you can see those, right? Sort of.
You can't. I don't think you can. The B plus K, he just stabs you really quickly mid. I believe it's stepple to one side, but the good thing about it, on counter hit, it leads to a big combo. But otherwise, all his other stuff, it's very reactable. His A, which is like cover sidestep, is very slow. A plus B is an overhead. But it's got to be like 20 frames.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculously slow. You can see it and sidestep it, just guard, whatever you want to do with it, basically. So most of his tools in that stance are not very good. They can be used, obviously, for different situations, but it's not something you want to just go into stance and just chill and be like, hey, I'm going to do a mix-up, because there's not really a mix-up.
And I see a lot of new players doing that. Like they'll do some move into stance, and then that's all they'll do is either the KB or the quick mid poke. He's always B plus K or whatever it is like that, and it's annoying for sure if you don't play Mitsu very often, but yeah, I'm glad you said that it's not good to just confirm my own opinion of it. But okay, so we got that stance out of the way, so we'll kind of get rid of that. One thing I did want.
Go ahead. One more thing. With the KB, actually, it's supposed to be natural combo, but if their mid move that's tech crouch, you'll hit them while they're you'll hit them out of their move, and the high won't even hit. So that's another reason the move sucks. So like you'll hit the kick and the B stab that's a high, it'll whiff. They can just launch punish you.
Wow.
So it's not good. It's not good at all.
Interesting. And okay, so one other thing, because you kind of mentioned it in the middle of that, the brave edges and the critical edge, and I wanted to bring this up because whenever I watch you play, whenever people talk about Mitsu, it's usually, how stupid the 3B Brave Edge mix-up is, how it's just a lockdown, and then how stupid the 2KB Brave Edge is and how annoying it is. But whenever I see you play, you seem to almost always prefer to get the CE, just for free, rather than saving your meter for Brave Edges. So I want to throw that question out to you. Like, which do you think is better, and why do you go for that?
The reason I don't waste my I usually don't use my 2KB Brave. I like to save my meter is because I feel I don't need those mix-ups. I'm good enough of a player where I can play defensive and just punish people for making mistakes and just guard my way to victory and just with basic mix-ups and good defense. And I tend that's how I beat RTD, and that's how I won a couple big matches. I save my meter for when I need it, and I get my super and get my damage, and it's more important than one small poke, in my opinion, or one knockdown combo that does 35%. I'd rather get the guaranteed ring out or whatever at the end of a match when I need it.
Fair enough.
But overall, it depends. If I feel like it's the kind of person where they're not gonna make that big mistake, or they're not going to give up that big launch or that sidestep 2-2 or 8-8B into super, I will be using my meter for 2KB. But the thing is, for 3B Brave Edge, it's not even good. People are starting it's been known for a while. All you do is sidestep. It's sidesteppable both ways, or you can backstep it. So it's not good because people just don't know. They just, no, it's too good. I'm just going to complain and not learn how to play against it. All the good players will sidestep it, just guard it, or backstep it every time. So that's 3B Brave Edge is not that good. It's good one time when they make a mistake and try to punish you, but otherwise they know not to do that. The top players know not to bother. They'll sidestep it every time.
So I take it that same philosophy applies to guard impacting, because I don't see you guard impacting very often either. I take it you'd rather save it for the CE.
Yes, see, versus Viola, I use guard impact, but versus most characters, I don't need it. I don't feel I need it unless I start blinking red. Then I'll use it when I need it. When I need the GI so I don't get broken. But otherwise, I do tend to save it. I'd rather have my meter full at all times for if I need it for damage.
Gotcha. So, that brings up an interesting topic because we've talked before on the podcast about meter management and stuff, just kind of in a general sense. And it sounds like you like to bank your meter. It's kind of like the same philosophy that Mortal Kombat users have, where it's, I'm always going to have as much meter as I can because I always want to make sure that I have that break available to me. And the only time I'm ever going to waste a bar outside of that is if it's going to win me the match or something else like that. But most people, when you talk to them about Caliber, are all about using as much meter as possible so that in those rare circumstances, when you lose a match or whatever and it gives you that free bar, and that you're not already at max when you get that, so you...
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, when I'm down a round, already down one round, and I think I'm going to lose that round, I will blow meter at the end of the round to try to win because it doesn't matter because I'm going to get it back. That's day one stuff.
But just in general, obviously a meter is huge. Getting a free meter is pretty big. But just in small increments, let's say that you hit 2, and you're maxed out on your meter, and you're kind of going through it. You feel good about your matches. Maybe you're not winning it, but you're not losing it at the same time. You're very even, and you could be using meter at that moment, but most people would use meter just so that they can get off max and start building it again. But it kind of sounds like you wouldn't do that. You would just kind of sit on the meter until you need to use it.
Yeah, I'm not going to just waste it to waste it. Like, I don't know, if I launch them, I'm going to use Brave Edge to knock down and go for more damage, but it's not like I'm looking for reasons to GI. Like, that's one thing maybe I should do. I'm not saying, like, my way is right, but, like, I tend to just save it. But, like, maybe I should GI more, but because GIs are pretty strong in this game, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just thought that was really interesting because most people would actually do the opposite. They are looking for ways to blow their meter just so that, when all is said and done, win or lose, they aren't sitting on meter, that they could have used to win the match or whatever.
I usually do sit down, but I usually end up using a good amount of it. Like, I was noticing that for a while. Like, at Evo especially, like, I was not GNing at all, and I kept having full meter, and I was like, wow, I need to adjust on this and actually make it useful. So you have it, you might as well use it. Especially, like, I usually just like to stay at least keep one full stock of meter is what I usually like to stay around at least. I usually try not to go underneath below that, but it's not, I don't know, it's like in the back of my head I'm always just like, if I don't need to use it, just don't use it. Just save it for a critical, like a really important time is basically why I save it.
Gotcha. So in general, for like Mitsu and his meter management, when we were talking with LP on our last episode, he was of the opinion that Viola is one of those characters that she needs meter to win, and whether or not you agree with that or not is mostly irrelevant. The fact is, there are going to be some characters that need meter to be good. Do you think that he's one of them, or do you think just like, oh, if I have meter, cool, I'm going to be even more scary, but if I don't have it, I'm okay?
It definitely makes him better because, like, people say, like, they suck versus, like, they're scared of 3B Brave Edge. You'll do a 3B. You don't even have to do the Brave Edge. They're just going to stand there because they're scared sometimes. So that it's just like a nice scare tactic, and just having 2KB is nice because if he had 2KB without knockdown that was punishable, that would drop him like a whole tier, basically. Mm-hmm. So he definitely needs 2KB Brave Edge. Unless they changed it back to where it was knockdown, then he wouldn't. Then I don't even think he would need Brave Edge. Like, he wouldn't even need it. He would still be a good character.
Well, yeah, I would completely agree with that if 2KB knocked down. But because that's pretty rough punishment. But again, it's one of those things where just a little bit of advice for any of the newer players looking to pick up Mitsu. 2KB is not a mix-up. It's a round ender. It's not
exactly. Yep.
Not something that you want to just throw out. Just because it's low doesn't mean that it's a middle of the round mix up. So because I see so many new players doing that. They're just doing the 3KB 3B junky ass mix ups, and it's like, dude, you're gonna get punished for that crap, so just knock it off.
So but he needs meter for that, and that's about it. It's nice to have a CE as well. It's a really good CE. So
well, yeah, like you mentioned, it picks up off the ground, combos off of like everything. So
basically combos off everything.
Yeah, it actually combos off of it combos off of itself, in fact. So just for those picking it up. But yeah, I noticed that I wanted to bring that up, that subject up, because I think a lot of people use like the 2KB Brave Edge, as well as we've kind of beat the 3B Brave Edge to death. But a lot of people are using those Brave Edges, but I noticed that you like to use the C far more than you use the Brave Edges. So
yeah.
So just okay, trying to think of what else we can talk about. So he's just kind of a real quick gloss over. He has his grabs, but I don't think they're anything like insanely special, right? Like there's nothing stupid that you can get off of them. They're just basic grabs.
No, he just got his ring out A throw and the standard B throw, and that's about it. He has no traps or anything afterwards that I know, because he's always far away. So.
So I do notice that you use grabs on occasion. Everybody's got to use grabs, especially in Caliber. But do you think like it's a very big part of his game? Like, do you use it to the point where it's?
Yeah, I throw the shit out of people. I throw a lot, actually. Like, I use it as an annoyance tool to give people more reason to want to duck. That's my biggest thing. I just like to make people want to duck, and then they've lost. basically.
Really? Do you think that's a you thing or a Mitsu thing? Or both, I guess.
But I think it's just a overall, that's a good thing for every character in this game. Throws are so strong. I can't stand that it's a 50-50 mix-up. I wish you were rewarded for reaction, but instead you have to guess. But so with Mitsu, it is a really good tool because if they're starting to duck, like he has so many strong mids that it's just basically you're screwed. And if I don't know, like I said, he's really good at mind fucking people. If you get them to duck, they're gonna get hit by so many different things that they're not even gonna know what to do. They're just gonna start hitting buttons or trying to sidestep, and he can stop that, and I don't know. He would just run you over. You start ducking. So that's really one thing I like to do is just get them annoyed and like make them feel they have to duck or hit buttons.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny that you mentioned, the hitting buttons thing because, just Oki in general, I know his Oki's good, but he does have, what is it, the 1A tech trap? Is that it? Because you can get that off like a bunch of different situations, right? If they tech roll.
It's his 1A tech trap?
Or whatever the spin low is.
I only know of it off of his B plus K counter hit combo. It's guaranteed off of that. And what else is it? I'm pretty sure that's...
Oh, because I thought, for whatever reason, I thought that was, maybe I just see it more often than I think, and I think that you can use it in every situation.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more. It's also off of his 3-3 or 9-9K, his jump knee knockdown. 1A also tech traps out of that.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Because I noticed that that's a move that you use a lot too, is his jump kick.
Oh yeah, his jump knee it's one of the best. It's so good. I pour that out more than any other move that I have.
Gotcha. Because that is, I presume it's not punishable at all.
It's not. It's like it's negative. The 3-3-9-9 version is better than the 6-6K version. It's like only -3 on block or something like that, or -2, and it tech jumps and tech crouches.
Tech crouches? That's new. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've seen it go under highs. The only thing is, it's weird. It has weird properties. You'll be midair still sometimes, and you get thrown or hit by lows. So it's not like it's active the whole time. You're not in the air the whole time. It's kind of weird. I've never tested it exactly, so I don't know the exact properties, but it's a very, very strong move.
Gotcha. So, and I take it that the fact that you're doing 3-3 or 9-9 probably helps with the tracking issue, but I presume that there's really nothing. It has no problem with tracking at all.
Oh, it's you can step it. It's kind of a tough step. You don't just sidewalk it because he'll track you as he runs in, but you can do a quick step and you'll get around it. Like I've had to cut back on it because people are starting to realize that you can just get around it and launch him, but It's still super, super fast and great for counter hit.
And then, is there any other than the 1A off of that? Is that like a true guaranteed move, or if they sit there? Okay.
It's guaranteed. And the beautiful thing about that, they'll stop. Like once they realize it's tech trap, you can just start hitting them with 6-6A plus B for more damage.
Oh.
So,
wow.
It's the spinning overhead move, which is cancelable. But yeah, it's just super strong. Once they realize they shouldn't tech, because if you tech and get hit by the 1A and you're close enough, CE is guaranteed after it. Which most people don't ever use, but yeah, it's guaranteed.
Well, yeah, and you like to use the CE, so obviously you're going to know about that. But okay, so that actually kind of leads me into another thing, just like his Oki in general, because you have that tech trap, and if you're using the knee a lot, obviously that's pretty big, and then if they start sitting there. But just in general, if you get a knockdown, you mentioned earlier you like to do 2-3-6B as a punish. Is there anything guaranteed off of 2-3-6B?
Only charge 2-3-6B, which I use for low punishment. Or the thing is, if you have meter, I'll use it. Like if you block, say Ivy's 2-2K. Or Patrick Close's 1K, and there's a couple other low pokes in the game that you can punish with it. But you can 2-3-6B Brave It from full crouch, and that will punish, and it will knock them down, which leads into a super afterwards. Or you can just do 6B2 or 1B, which also hit grounded, and that's guaranteed after that. But otherwise, normal 2-3-6B does not knock down, but it does good damage.
Gotcha. So what typically do you, let's say that you punish with the 2-3-6B, just whiff punish, whatever, and you knock them down, or whatever, what is your typical Oki setup after that?
I usually just 6B2 stab them in the feet and see if I can get them to roll, because usually people don't know how to get up properly versus him. So they'll start rolling around, and I'll just stab them, like I'll 1B them as they roll, or you can stab them on the ground again over and over, and then you can get away with that multiple times.
Well,
So it's usually,
remind me, what is one? Oh no, never mind. 1B. No.
Yeah, 1B. You know what that is.
Yeah, I know what it is. I was like,
really,
wait,
really
1B.
fast.
Why is that not ringing a bell? Okay, yeah, okay, got it. So, so it kind of I'm gonna have you explain that comment a little bit because you just said most people don't know how to get up properly against him. So, what do you mean by that? Like, how are you supposed to get up against him?
That's the thing. That's why it's really, really hard to get up. There's like not a really right way. Like what I do versus him, you don't really want to hit block and like stand straight up because then you're forced into a 50-50. I'd much rather try to roll than back up and like just take like 1 or 2 ground hits, which is like only going to be a little bit of damage, instead of standing up into a mix up where you can get launched for half life, or 2KB Brave Edge where you're back in the same position and you're like back turned or your head toward back down where you have to get up it takes you longer to get up or whatever, and it's another mix-up situation. So it's usually much better just to take a couple pokes and just try to roll away and get out of there so you can just stand up without getting mixed up.
Gotcha. So it sounds then like, and I actually think you've mentioned it, so he's very much like a range 1 character, like a range 0-1. Like if he gets outside of that, it's kind of difficult for him.
Well, he doesn't have mix-ups from that range. He fights well, like straight up from any range. But like for our wake up, you have to be right there because he doesn't have things that cover that much ground that are fast at all. So he has no mix-ups out of range 1.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. I think I'm starting to run out of questions here. Oh, one thing we haven't talked about yet, the wall. So pretty much everyone is busted at the wall. I mean, that's pretty much the consensus. But like, are there any things like to be especially scared of with him at the wall? Obviously, ring outs are better than walls because it's free round, it's done, 1 hit kill.
Yep.
But when you're at the wall, I know if he gets the wall splat, he gets 2-3-6B, right? And then the counter hit gives you more shit.
Well, if you get it depends. You get a normal wall splat, you can launch again, or you can 4K. You can do double wall splats with him, and then you can lead into B+K counter hit where he'll stab you and then kick you down, and you get a guaranteed super after that. Or if they hit if you launch and hit a medium wall splat, like a little bit higher up, you can just do a full charge 2-3-6B, which I think is the best damage because it's like clean, like it's not scaled. It's not as scaled as if you launch them or wall splat twice. So I try to go for that. I try to go for the big less amount of hits, just because of scaling purposes. So just full charge 2-3-6B into super is really strong, and it's very, very easy. So I try to just do that.
Now, whether or not you do the super, that leaves you, the Mitsu player, in a pretty good position, right? Because they can't move. You're right on top of them.
Yeah, you after that on the wall, I'll tend to just ground stab. You can ground stab 1B, B6, or actually 3B's guaranteed. Obviously, you're right there. They can't get up for a 3B. That hits grounded as well. But I tend not to use that because the recovery's not so good, and they can roll out to the side and be able to block in time. So I try to use the moves that recover quicker. But if I have meter right there, I'm almost always going to use it for super just to try to take as much damage at that point.
Gotcha. But for the most part, it seems like there are some characters that aren't the best at range 0, just because they don't really have all the tools necessary to hurt you at that range, or at least not the mix-ups. So for him, it seems like it's pretty fucking scary to be in that situation because he just has all of his tools are now there. You can't move, and you just mentioned when you're getting up against him, you want to try to get away, and you can't do that in that situation. So that seems pretty scary. I'm trying to think. You mentioned ring outs, or I guess we kind of both mentioned it a little bit. He has the A grab, and then he has some things that will hit you out. But compared to say a Viola or something, do you put him in the middle when it comes to ring out? Is he okay but not great? Or?
He's pretty standard. You like anyone else, you get a launcher at the edge, you're out. He has a ring out throw. He only has 1. He doesn't have it's only with their back to the edge. His 4K rings out. 2-3-6B Brave Edge rings out. He's good when their back's there because basically if you guess wrong, you're just getting rung out. So that's pretty strong, but that's pretty standard for every character in the game, basically. Everyone has knockdown moves that ring out or I guess not everyone has lows that ring out, so that kind of brings them up a little bit because his 2-3-6B Brave Edge rings out, and that's a pretty big deal, and it's really hard to read. So that probably he's obviously not anywhere near Viola, but he's better than almost all the cast at ringing out.
Does he have any with his back on the wall? Like any ring outs?
No, not at all.
Gotcha. So that's because I know that's like one of the things when you're going up against, like, say, an Asta, that's pretty scary because either way, whether his back is against the wall or not, he has options that can ring you out. And just, I mean, to tell everybody, it doesn't matter if you see it coming or not. Sometimes that grab is going to hit you. It's just the way that it works. So yeah, I guess that's something. One thing I did want to ask about, which really doesn't have anything to do with the ring outs, but his back turn game, like, he really doesn't have a back turn game, but he does have back turn B+K, which I notice is pretty prevalent because a lot of, with the way that sidestepping works in this game, you find yourself in a situation where your back is turned or your back is to your opponent sometimes. Do you think that gives him like a really huge, like, what would you call it, a step up, I guess, for in like the tiers and whatnot, because the fact that he's not completely useless when he has his back?
It is a really nice tool to have. Like you said, most characters don't have that, but it's not nearly as good as Alpha Pat's back turn just frame bullshit and Astaroth's counter hit like stomach poke thing, but it's still really nice because it does lead into a guaranteed ground damage, and if they're near a wall, you get free super. So it is really nice, and like people don't always realize they can do it, and they'll just do a normal attack, and he goes right under highs in that back turn move. So it is a very, very nice tool to have.
Oh man, I think I'm running out of like stuff to ask about. Are there anything like any like moves or anything that we haven't mentioned that you think are like crucial to being a Mitsu player or anything? Anything that we haven't mentioned, or any topics, I guess, not even necessarily moves, but
3A is one move that I use a ton. Like after, it's a move his gut stomach punch where it'll gut stun you. Like, I like to use that to like try to deter people from wanting to hit buttons. Like, because after like BB, like almost everyone can like almost interrupt you with like a 2A. Like all the girls like can just AA you. Viola can AA you before you can do anything after BB. So can Pyrrha, and I believe Shunghua, what's her name? Leisha.
Oh, Leisha, yeah. It's so funny. I did that the other day too. I was like, because I was like trying to teach some buddies who had never played the game before, and they had played 3 and 4 and 2 and whatever, and they're like, "Oh man, that's Taki." I was like, "Yeah, she's over there," and I was like, "Wait, that's not her fucking name. What is her name?" And I couldn't remember for like 30 fucking seconds. It took me to figure out that fucking character's name. But anyway, so okay,
3A, very, very good poke to get. That's one of his fastest moves and leads into a gut stun. Whereas he has nothing guaranteed after. It's just he gets a good mix-up after. Just like they have to shake the stun and either try to break a throw, block a low, or a mid, or whatever. So it's just a pretty strong thing to have.
Or I suppose if you can't break the stun, that's free launch, right?
I think you fall down. Like, I think it's like in the other games. Like, if you don't break a stun, like you like slide under throws, and like I think launchers just hit you as you fall. But I think. I'm not exactly sure how it is because everyone just hits buttons and gets out of it. It's like you don't even have it's not like a hard stun to break. So I've never had that happen. I've never tested it, but I don't think you ever get that.
Gotcha.
Unless I usually go for a charge like 236B, so like they'll try to twitch because most people are hitting their joystick or their D-pad fast, so they'll end up like ducking. You'll get a full charge knockdown into super or whatever. So. And also his his sidestep A is super strong, leads into CE on counter hit, and it's safe. It covers sidestep. And also obviously 2-2 or an 8-8B is a great sidestep move that leads into super, which I use a ton. That's how I beat RTD. sidestep B ring out. But basically, like, all his basic pokes are super nice. B6-8 is a really good punisher and has long range. Same with like the B6-2, like that 3-hit series where he's a high, a mid, and a low. Those are all very, very usable tools. Like, you can play Mitsu with like just the most basic stuff and do well because he's that good and has everything that you need. 4A covers sidestep.
Yeah.
Like he just has things for every single situation.
Yeah, I was always a huge A+B and then 6-6 A+B fan. Like, those two moves for whatever reason, I just love those two moves.
Yeah, A+B is great. That move I've been using that a lot actually now. Like post GI, or like when I know people are expecting like during tech roll for wake up, I'll just do A plus B. It's a safe move, and if they decide to duck, it takes just a huge amount of damage.
Gigantic. Plus, it leaves them right there.
Yep, yeah, exactly, right in front of you. And it's actually good for wake up because like if people roll, it'll hit them when they're rolling on the ground as well. So it's also good for that. It's pretty safe.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I like 6/6 A plus B, because it's pretty much the same thing, except it's much more range. I mean, I think A plus B tracks better, but
yes. 6/6 A plus B, like they can roll away from it, stand up and step it. If they see it coming, they can stand up and step it. But that's why it's nice. You don't have to commit. You can just cancel it and you're fine. But
yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons that one of the reasons that I like it in Soul Calibur is, everybody obviously knows about how they nerf the backdash, but just movement in general is kind of, if you're moving around, you might get hit with something. And 6/6 A plus B is one of those things to keep them honest. Like if you're bouncing around trying to do stuff, that thing can pop out of nowhere.
That's very true. That's another thing he's good at. That's why I'll randomly, if I know someone's going to try just randomly backstepping, you just throw out B6-8 or B6 where he lunges forward, and you get counter hit. You get you can gut stun with 3A into mix up, or you can get free CE if you're at the right range, and you get free ground hits. So it's a very good move. He's good at every range. So he's got
B6 or is that what you just said? B6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's B slide 6, but just B then 6 or
and
whatever.
That's just the high sword stab, right?
Yeah, it's just the one where he knocks you on top of the head.
Yeah, that thing is just as annoying as the toe stab. The thing is, it just comes out. It's like boom. It's fucking ridiculous. But
a lot of people don't use it really well. I just try to wait until I see people move and then I'll throw it out, because the recovery on movement in this game is just it's so crazy. I still am not a fan of it. I'm starting to get used to it, but it's kind of sucks that your movement is you're guessing that it's a good time to move. I disagree with that being a part of a game. You should be able to move and block, but
I'm in the same boat.
He's good at stopping that. He's like, oh, it looks like you're going to move back. Nope, counter hit. So it's really good from range 2, where other people can't hit you. He can hit you.
Well, yeah, I guess I don't understand why people wouldn't use B6 more, because even on block, it's one of those things where I guess if you're twitch ducking, sure, you can get around it every once in a while, but it's so quick, and even on block, it has that little pushback to it. So I don't know. I always thought it was.
It's
really
good.
Strong.
I was getting to the point in 4 I was using it a lot, a lot, and people would just sit at range 2 ducking, and so I'm I just had to basically stop. So at that range they can just duck, and there's nothing he can hit you with that's gonna be fast and you're not gonna react to. So it's still really nice, because most people aren't just gonna sit there and duck. They're gonna move around. So it's a really viable tool. It's a really, really good tool.
Gotcha. So in general, though, I mean, you think he's just a really basic character, and as long as you play to that strength, you'll do fine.
Yeah, he's just with his basic tools, he's one of the best characters in the game easily. But the thing is, people act like you can just be stupid and shitty and win with him. I totally disagree. You can't. You can, if the person is not good at the game, you can beat them, but you're not going to just run over high-level players by just being well, I got 2 KB, that means I win. That's not how it works. You got to actually play well. He's not someone you can just be a dumbass and win. That's what everyone tries to make it sound like. But
it's funny you say that, because I would actually say that the more basic a character is, the better a player you have to be, because it's all going to be mind games. The majority of your game is going to be you playing the player, not the character.
Yeah, not every move. Yeah, exactly. Everything's super good, and they don't know about that move. With Mitsu, with most of the top tiers, that's one thing. Everyone knows what Mitsu can do. They know exactly what he can do, how he can do it, what can be punished. That's what makes him he's really good. But everyone knows everything about your character, so it's not that easy to win with, obviously. And he's not, he's not broken. He's a very good character, but that's one thing people don't put into when they think about tier lists. It's always it's Viola. Everyone knows everything about her because they know she's a cunt, and you have to know everything in order to beat her. So everyone labs on her, and they practice against her. And it's the same versus Mitsu. They know he's super good, so they learn everything they can do against him and get better versus him. So it makes it harder to win with him.
Interesting. Well, that's all I got for Mitsu. Was there anything else that you had that was on your mind before?
Not really.
Okay. So, well, the only other thing that I have, as far as podcast related stuff is concerned, I'm going to throw it out there just because it's kind of a big thing right now. We kind of mentioned it earlier, the whole Viola issue and how France is voting to ban her. you know. But what are your opinions about that? Like you mentioned earlier that you're like, whatever, I'll just play and get used to it. But I mean, if France ends up banning her, which it sounds like is very, very possible, like what do you think is going to happen over here? Like, how do you see that playing out?
I really think we're gonna keep her. Honestly, like she's a pretty stupid fucking character, but like I just can't get past the fact that she gets multiple mix-ups. You block a mix-up, but she still has another mix-up because the ball's coming. Then you have to guess for another high or a mid or a low. Like I can't wrap my head around that. But the thing is, there's ways around all this stuff. So I don't think she should be banned. I just don't want like the infinite. Like obviously, like some sort of soft ban would be fine. But that's like people are saying it's really hard to enforce that. But she is actually a really, really cool character design and like really interesting. And like I really don't want her banned, even though I've had my ass kicked severely by some Viola players. But I practiced, got better versus her, and I'm like I'm ready to play against her. The only thing I don't like is that I don't know if you've seen some of the videos this Future Star MK2 or whatever from Japan puts up. Mm-hmm. But like he's the one who found like all her like super crazy combos, her death combos. Like they need to patch like. That shit should be air controllable. Like there should be no way that she can use 1.5 meters and get 200 damage. Like and like she actually can use 2.5 meters because she'll build enough meter to use meter again during that combo. So like shit like that, like if they somehow tweak that a little bit, like I don't think she should be banned. If they could somehow fix it so she doesn't have those death combos, she'd be fine. Like that's all.
Word on the street is that we're going to get one more patch and then they're done. Like they're going to patch it one more time and then there's your game. Have fun. But I like this is one of those things where there's all sorts of these you have ninja patches and then you have knee jerk patches and you have all this other stuff, and I think Viola is the quintessential example of a knee jerk patch. I think that when you patch stuff for a gaming company, I think the only thing once the game comes out, you should give it at least like a 6 to 12 month head start. And the only thing you should patch in between that time are glitches. And that's it. Because the only reason that she's doing as much fucking damage as she's doing right now is because they buffed her. Yeah. They buffed the damage. So maybe if we had given it another few months and figured this shit out first, they wouldn't have done that. So,
and the game would be better.
Yeah, and it's just like Natsu. Natsu, sure, she was strong, and I do think that the changes that she got were warranted, and they made her a better overall, kind of an all-around character, and just it made her more fun in the grand scale of things. But at the same time, I still think that was a knee-jerk reaction. I think there were so many people bitching about her that Namco was like, well, we're going to lose a bunch of players if we don't do this. It's like they need to stop with that shit, and I think we need to do the same thing. When it comes to the Viola ban, it's like just calm down. I know that she's getting a lot of damage. See what happens with it, because I'm a lot of this stuff. At least the Infinite, for instance, that was available for Evo. People knew that about Evo, but Takedo, what did he get? 12, something like that. Like
he got somewhere else. I think he top 16. I think he placed. I'm not sure if he placed below me or not. I can't remember.
But it's one of those things where there were people that knew this stupid bullshit, and yet at the same time, there's not a Viola. You don't see a Viola in top 8, do you? No, you sure as hell don't. So, but I don't know. You're always going to have those counter arguments where I know for Hilda, a lot of people are saying, well, she didn't win Evo and all this other stuff, but she still ended up getting banned. Well, that's true, but. Who was it? I think it was Slade, the guy who actually posted up the thread, who brought up it is a valid point. He said that it's not relevant whether it's broken or not. It's relevant about how many players we're going to lose and gain depending on what we do. So I think that's how everyone should look at it. It's like if everyone's gonna walk out on this game because we allow Viola, then we should do something. But if everyone's okay with it, like the American scene seems to be okay with it. Like there's a few people out there who are really pissed that she even exists, but outside of those couple people, like most people are okay with it. It's like okay.
I hate her at first. The first time I saw her, I'm like, why is she in this game? What the fuck is this? But like, she's cool. So I just really wish they should patch her combo damage, and I think she's fine.
I was always one of people cry about like the touch of death combos and the infinites and stuff, and my gut reaction every time I hear something like that is, first of all, your game has ring outs, so shut the fuck up. Second of all, Marvel is super popular, and that has all sorts of touch of death combos. So, like, I don't know why you care about a touch of death combo, because no one else ever in the history of gaming has really cared about it. So, but I don't know. I guess that's just my opinion on it, but it is what it is. So, lastly, very, very last segment of the podcast, I do like to give my guests like a little segment. If you have anybody to shout out, or if you have like something you want to say, I'll give you a little soapbox and give you as much time as you want for whatever you want to say. So I will throw that at you, and that should be the last word. If you don't have any friends and you don't want to shout anybody out, I'm totally cool with that too.
Gonna say thanks to Jimmy for Jimmy Choi from Madison. Everyone, he's known as Jimmy Pikachu Choi on the forums. Obviously, you know who he is. I'm not sure everyone does, but
I think a lot of
he basically helped. Yeah, well, he's relatively known, but like, just shout out to him for helping me get good at this game. Even though I don't really play much anymore, like he really got me to a high level at this game, and then I kind of branched off on my own and did the rest myself. But I probably wouldn't have been any good if it wasn't for him, like kind of getting to me to play the game. And shoutouts to Fusion, another guy from Madison, and also Mystic Bill, just all my friends that I started playing Soul Calibur 2 with.
Madison homies.
Yep, basically, and like most other people there's not really any other players in Wisconsin that are very good. There's a couple new up-and-comers from Madison that are decent, but those are all the guys that I got good with, so shoutouts to them for being cool and
taking those ass
helped me get good.
like a man.
Yeah, basically, yeah. They were beating my ass at first, besides Brett. Brett came in after I did, but like Bill and Jimmy were beating me down for a couple months. And I turned the tides on that after a while.
You know, that should be a lesson to all the new players out there, because you are not new to the competitive fighting game scene. So the fact that you were sitting there and willing to, take those losses to get better. There's so many people who quit after day one because they just get raged. They just get absolutely raged on and just completely shit on. But, stick through it. You'll get better.
Exactly. Well, if you like the game and it's whatever, it's fun to play if you enjoy it. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not the kind of person who's going to stop playing, just because I'm losing. It makes me want to, if I lose bad, I want to, try hard and get better and beat them eventually and beat them badly. So prove that I'm better than them, basically.
There you go. Is that it? Was that the end of the list?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not really friends with anybody, so I have no doubt. I hate everyone.
Well, hey, when you're always calling people out on money matches, it's kind of to be expected.
No, I actually the SoCal community is really cool. I actually met a lot of people at the MLGs and out at Evo. Everyone's really cool to hang out with. Chicago's cool as fuck. All the East Coast guys are cool. I hung out with a couple guys from SoCal that were all right. No Face Killer and Calcular. What's his name? I forgot what Eris calls him.
Oh yeah, that I don't know. Are you buddies with Eris?
Yeah, we talk now and then. Yeah, we're cool. I hung out with that Evo, beat his ass, money matches.
I was gonna say, I figured he was super salty after that tournament.
He was actually glad that he did that well, because we played the day before and I absolutely destroyed him. And he did so well in the tournament match, he said basically because we got to play so much and he actually figured out some things to do. So he wasn't too mad at all. He's obviously didn't like losing, and he is pretty serious about winning and competing at the game. But he was still all right. But yeah, he's definitely cool. Shout outs to him. Actually, fuck off, Eris. That's what I'll say.
Hey, you took the man's money. You can't. Don't kick him when he's down.
No, he beat me at Tekken, obviously, because he still plays that shit. And but I beat him at Soul Calibur a few times, so that felt good.
Hey, all you have to say whenever you lose at Tekken, be like, listen, it's not Tag 2, so whatever.
Shit. Nah, I have no excuses. I was there. I put money on it. I thought I could win, so it's whatever. Oh, I have another shout out. Actually, some shit to talk. I can't wait to Belial.
Oh,
Hold that shit, Belial. I'm the fucking best Mitsu in the world.
Oh shit! So we're upgrading. We got challenges going on. Oh,
no, I think I'm just the best Mitsu versus Mitsu player. He's the best Mitsu in the world, but I'm really good anti-Mitsu, I guess. I don't know. He promised me that he would be able to beat me if we played again, but I was just too hyped. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm the best right now. I'm not playing you again. I'm getting drunk.
Hey, if you get your wins and it's time to party,
Exactly.
You can't keep
yeah.
doing one mores, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, he's still the best Mitsu in the world, I think. But I'm just happy that I was able to beat him.
That's okay. That's good. That's good competition to have. So you know, it is what it is. And anything else, or did you have?
No.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all I have. So, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Mateo, obviously, for coming on. You know, people don't get to hear your voice very often, so I'm sure that a lot of people will be thrilled that you're talking Mitsu. Because I mean, to be honest, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are like, "Oh man, Mateo, he's so fucking good," blah blah blah. But we don't hear from you very often. Like you post every once in a while, but it's usually tournament related.
I don't care.
Yeah. But, you know, it's mostly tournament related whenever people hear from me. It's not, strats.
No, I don't do that. Yeah, I'm too lazy.
I know you don't. That's why I'm saying a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to be very surprised but very happy about this podcast. So thanks for coming on. Again, thanks for everyone for listening. As I said with the last podcast, if anyone out there, you know, if you have any suggestions for a guest, I'm more than open to whoever. There were a few suggestions thrown out the last time, which I have written down and have taken into consideration. So keep those coming. And I put this at the end of the podcast because that means that you're dedicated and you've actually listened to the entire thing. So with that, that's all we got. I don't think we have any really big tournaments or anything coming up. It's kind of that post Evo. You know.
Oh, MLG next week.
Oh yeah, that's right.
MLG 2 weeks.
Yes,
yeah.
MLG. Sorry about that. I forgot they kept it. Okay, yes. So MLG. Aside from MLG, that's all we got. So not a lot of news. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Unfortunately, I don't know who the next character is going to be. I like to keep that thing a surprise. So when I announce it, when I post it up, you'll know who it is. But other than that, that is all I have. Check us out as always. We're going to keep going through these. We'll get to every character eventually. I promise. That is my solemn duty to the Soul Calibur community to get every character done. So that's all I got. So for Mateo, thank you for coming on the podcast, and he says thank you all for listening, whether or not he actually does it or not. So we will catch you guys next time. Later.